Introducing Amy MacMahon, the South Brisbane candidate for the Greens. It's my pleasure this morning on the eCentral Business Show. Amy, thank you very much for coming on the show.
Thanks, Tom. Thanks for having me.
No, that's great. Now, we'll get straight into history and that sort of thing, because a move into politics, your first time, you know, as a candidate and that sort of thing. I mean, did you want to be the President of Australia back in school or something? Was that one of those things you drew as a picture? Or?
I feel this has been it's the culmination of a lot of different work I've been doing around environmental activism and social activism and the peace movement as well. I'm really motivated by not just environmental issues, but also social justice and disability rights in particular. I've been a carer for a family member for a number of years.
Oh, have you? Okay.
Seen the ways in which the healthcare system and the political system really lets down those in our society who are most vulnerable. So that has really been a motivating factor for me. I'm really motivated by a drive to make the world a better place and be more progressive in the way that we do politics and organise our societies as well.
Yeah, I want to talk to you more about the Greens and the values and that sort of thing, but even on terms of like social welfare and looking after the disabled and that sort of thing, as Australia, have we lost touch with like the family values that we, that you see elsewhere in the world, where 3 or 4 generations of family live in the one house and everyone's looked after? Have we lost touch with that? Or it seems we certainly have.
Yeah, I think.
When did that happen and what do we do about it?
Yeah, I think it's part of a broader system that has encouraged individualisation as opposed to people working collectively. We're all really busy, people are overworked. We know that people in Australia are working way more hours than they need to, and we've lost this balance. And we know we've got like a lot of rates of mental illness, for example, with people not being able to spend time with their families and spend time with their friends and do the things that they really love to do. So how can we come back to some kind of balance where people do have time to do volunteer work, do caring, be looking after each other? I think that's a big thing that the Greens have been talking about for a number of years, but this election is...
Oh, right, because that's a lovely thing to dovetail into this, because it is the eCentral Business Show, but we often see, and even, I'm guilty myself, this year I've spent a lot of time focused on the business, driven by the business, making every plan, every move, everything that I do about the business, and as such, I found myself getting to like August and go, oh, I'm exhausted.
Yeah, that's right.
And on the base of that, now I've taken more time out, bought myself a new set of runners, and spending more time out in the suburbs or hiking, that sort of thing, and I found myself enjoying life more. What a surprise,
Amy. That's great, yeah.
And also we see in terms of motivational speakers charging a lot of money to encourage people to, be generous or giving back and that sort of thing. So, I guess there's a certain amount of balance is what you guys subscribe to and promoting.
Yeah, definitely. I think everyone knows that getting back into nature helps them and makes them feel good about the world, and also spending time with your family and friends. And how can we break down some of these big structures that are kind of letting us down in a lot of ways? And creating this space where people can connect with each other, talk to their neighbours, be having conversations about the things that matter. Even in our neighbourhoods, we often don't know our neighbours, and that's partly because of the ways cities are set up. It's often not even easy to walk around or jump on your bike and or go down to the local park and have a chat with people. So how can we be building our cities in a way where it's easier for people to connect?
Oh, absolutely, yeah. Well, I make no secret that I grew up in Nayler and we had a 4-foot high chain wire fence, and we knew our neighbours. And recently I was in a stoush with some with investment property owners that I shared fences with, and it was about the fact they wanted a 6-foot timber paling fence. And I'm going, can't we have something a bit more social, a bit more collective, a bit more community? And so I get that and subscribe to that, big fan of that. But obviously, and that's addressed the Greens' values, because ultimately, there's that title and that I expect you to turn up on a push bike if you didn't, but what are the core values of Greens, and how does that distill down to the issues that you guys obviously are about?
Yeah, well, obviously the Greens are most well known for environmental justice and environmental issues, but the other key tenets of the Greens movement more broadly are social justice, peace and non-violence, and grassroots democracy. And this election we're talking much more about social justice and how do we make sure that people have their basic needs met? How do we make sure we have this level of economic justice so people can lead a good life? How can we address the growing economic inequality that we have here in Queensland and in Australia? How can we be helping people, for example, people up north who are facing something like a recession and are facing all these issues with being able to afford their rents and mortgages? We know that lots of Queenslanders are in housing stress at the moment, for example. This is people who
big concerns around that issue.
People struggling to pay their rents and mortgages, people struggling to pay their electricity bills. How can we be recreating this system in a way that actually looks after the needs of people first?
Yeah. Okay. So what does that represent in terms of you stepping forward and saying, I'm here for South Brisbane, I'd like to represent the locality and state government. I mean, what are the primary things that you're about then personally when you go to say, I wanted you to vote for Amy MacMahon?
Yeah, so we've been having conversations with people all over South Brisbane. Some of your viewers might have even been knocked by some of our volunteers.
Okay, visited,
Yeah, so some of the things we've been talking about have included a significant investment in social housing. So government investment in social housing to make sure that every Queenslander has access to a home that they can be proud of. There's about nearly 30,000 Queenslanders at the moment who are on the waiting list for social housing. Some of them have been on that list for over a decade. So we know there's a big shortage of social housing. We've also been talking about changing the way the system works for renters, so making sure renters have more security and stability. That also means for landlords and real estate agents, they've got more certainty in terms of having good tenants in your home for a long period of time.
Sure.
We've also been talking a lot about reform in the electricity sector, so how to reduce the price gouging that we see from retailers and the networks to make sure that people can actually afford their electricity bills. So that would be households and businesses being able to have bills that don't include a massive markup from these big corporations, so people can actually afford it. Those are some of the key things we've been talking about, along with...
so you want to be more than just the alternative, we know that, say the past decade, there's been a lot of protest vote, like people saying, I'm going to vote for them because I'm not going to vote for them, I mean, you've got to stand for something, don't you, Amy?
Yeah, that's right. And the conversations we've been having with people tell us that people are really fed up with the other major parties. They're fed up with a political system that is not engaging people anymore. People are feeling really tired. People don't feel like their engagement with politics has any meaningful impact on their lived experiences. So how do we offer an alternative to people that says, it doesn't need to be like this? There's different ways we can be organising our economy and our society and our political system to make sure people are engaged and people are looked after. And that's the really exciting thing about this election, to talk about some of these issues that people at the door have been saying they're really worried about, right down to, how are my children going to be able to buy a house down the track with the housing market as it is at the moment? How do we look after people and make sure that everyone's going to have a home and everyone can be making good decisions for their life?
Yeah, sure. Okay, now Amy, will you stick around a little bit longer? I'd like to ask you some other questions and drill down maybe on the Adani issue and that sort of thing. So we can talk again. You'll make another video with us. Great.
Sounds
okay.
Good.
Now, but let's finish off this one. Now, what action do people take around supporting the Greens? Is it more than just vote one, Amy MacMahon?
That it would be the key ask that I'd be putting out to your viewers. But people who are interested in these issues could head online to the Queensland Greens website and read some of our policies, have a look at what's going on. If you're super keen, we'd love you to come down and join us for door knocking and conversations we're going to be having over the next few weeks in the lead up to the election. So if you're super keen to get involved, we'd love to have you on board. But more broadly, just being reflective, about the issues that we've been talking about, environmental issues, economic justice as well, and thinking, you know, your vote has power and how can you use that?
Yeah, great. Okay, Amy, thank you very much for coming on the eCentral Business Show.
Cheers.
Yeah, great. Okay, that's another episode done. We'll speak to you next time. Thank you very much for watching another episode of the eCentral Business Show. What we're looking to do across the eCentral Business Show is bring to you the very best content from great people with really informative knowledge to share. It's something that you can listen to in the car. Don't watch it obviously when you're doing that, but we're looking to really bring value to you across LinkedIn, YouTube, podcastable content, so it's really great and informative business knowledge. So please tune in as much as you can. Now, the great ways to follow us, you can register on the database, make contact with us, and we'll put your email in. We're going to tell you each month what great videos will come out and just give you a curated version through the eCentral magazine, where we're going to send you the most popular videos for the month. The other thing we can do is obviously invite you to connect with us on LinkedIn, linked up with myself, John Nayler. And the other thing, of course, is look up John Nayler on YouTube and subscribe to our channel there.